That's a lot of notes, right? But it makes complete sense. That was Tony Rice's guitar break for Blue Ridge Cabin Home from 1981, I think, with the Bluegrass Album Band. That break is a classic. I even made a YouTube video about it a million years ago. What's amazing to me about that break is normally when your average weekend warrior bluegrass musician plays a break that is that busy, that full of notes, it is not that listenable. That's the difference between legendary players like Tony Rice and all of the Phony Tonys out there, because it's one thing to learn all of the licks and play them one after another, but it is another thing entirely to put together a logical break over a vocal tune that is worth listening to. It's actually a lot like building a pattern with Legos, and that is what I want to teach you today. Hey, what's up? This is Lessons with Marcel. I teach people how to do stuff like this for a living. Hit subscribe to become a student, and check out lessonswithmarcel.com to sign up for private lessons with one of our award-winning instructors. In a bluegrass context, the guitar was kind of a late bloomer. All of the other bluegrass instruments were already showing off and playing breaks before the guitar player ever was. Now, when guitar players finally did start soloing, they borrowed from all the other instruments around them, things like banjo rolls or Monroe-style mandolin phrasing. And actually, all of the instruments steal from each other quite a bit. If you follow that trail all the way back, every bluegrass instrument is trying to sound like the fiddle, but the fiddle is trying to sound like the human voice. But the human voice has one very important limitation. You have to breathe. Which means every melody that was meant to be sung is naturally divided into phrases because you need to breathe. There's a well-beaten path on that old mountainside, hole right here, where I wandered when I was a lad. I wandered alone to the place I call home, another gap in those Blue Ridge hills far away. You should be finding that structure before you start picking out which licks you're going to shred, because this is way more important. And we can imagine this as Lego blocks. That means I should roughly fill the first half of every line with my personal language and let the breathing happen in the second half of every line for this song. Now, most players' natural instinct is to play the melody in the first half of every line and then unload every hot lick they know in the second half, and that is exactly how things start sounding like soup, because you've ignored the very thing that made the melody make sense to begin with. So each Lego brick represents a single concept, and how we're going to interpret this is that we're going to improvise in the first half of every line, and then we're going to let the second half breathe by just playing some boom chuck rhythm. So don't worry, this isn't the whole method. We're just identifying where our ideas should go. Now let's get some more Legos. One thing that instruments do, but vocalists really don't do, is giving themselves a running start. A kickoff phrase is how you enter an improv phrase. It shouts to the listener, hey man, something is about to happen. So we already know where the improv Legos are, and every single one of those needs an entrance. That means kickoff into the first line, second line, third line, and fourth line. But I don't need one at the end of my break because I won't be starting anything new. Now, these kickoff phrases aren't random. You're actually aiming for a specific target, and that target is a chord tone. And the chord tone that you're aiming for is normally the same one that the vocalist would be singing at that moment. Now, we don't have a lot of time to set up our improv, so kickoff phrases are normally only about 3 beats long. So let's take a look at a G chord. There's only 3 notes in this chord, so there's only 3 targets. If I was going into G, or the root note, I might play. If I was going into B, or the third, I might play. If I was going into D, or the fifth, I might play. You want to be able to do this into any chord tone of any chord, so find some more fun examples for yourself over C chords and D chords first. Now, people can get weird and kind of dogmatic about kickoff archetypes, but our goal here is to create structure, not remove personality. So maybe I might get into the third like this. Or maybe I might get into the fifth with like this Earl Scruggs lick. There's still creativity to be had out there. Do not feel boxed in. Okay, so let's add kickoff phrases into our system and practice it. Remember, we have kickoff, improv, breath 4 times in a row. You hear that, right? It's like something that you've heard before. Not because of the licks or the language. It sounds like that because of the structure. Speaking of structure, what do we do with that Lego brick that we've been calling breath? All right, so all of those breath bricks are not filler. Think of them more like release. If the kickoff and the improv together are sentences, then the breath is like the space in between. And if you don't have that space in between, it's just a run-on sentence. What you put in that space could be a lot of different things, but it's never the star of the show. It could be a little cross-picking pattern. It could be a G-run variation. It could even still just be your boom chuck rhythm. But we just give the illusion of activity while taking a breath. This is also where intermediate players get uncomfortable, and that could be you. And it's normally because they don't feel like they're doing enough. They're like, why can't I put the most exciting thing there? Remember, the goal isn't to shred as hard as you can all the time. The goal is to make music. And music is so much more fun when people want to listen to it. And bluegrass especially is social. Bluegrass is a conversational genre. And if you filibuster the conversation, people are going to be super confused. All right, so let's look at all of this with our breath bricks again, now that you actually know what they're for. And let me show you what this sounds like so you can try it too. Knowing what Lego brick to put where to execute a classic bluegrass break is an essential skill. Use it all the time. It won't let you down. But what's more interesting is that this Lego system isn't rigid. If you want a really aggressive opening, just drop 3 improv breaks in a row. Want a trail off at the end? Drop 2 improv breaks at the end. Maybe the vocal structure is different. Who cares? Rearrange your Legos. That's why we built this thing out of Legos and not concrete. But remember, every good break has something that starts the idea, something that is the idea, and something that lets us breathe after the idea. Which takes us back to the Tony Rice break on Blue Ridge Cabin Home. Does that break actually have structure? Does it have the 3 Legos we've been talking about? Well, you should listen to it again. And this time, instead of listening for licks, you should listen for bricks. This is the exact form we ended up with using our Lego blocks. This is the classic bluegrass break form. This one just happens to be played by a master. He didn't even subvert any expectations. It's everything we expect in order. There's not a drop of soup in there. All right, folks, if you want to see me take this same tune and demonstrate every single bluegrass guitar technique that I can think of, you can click on the recommended video beside me. You can also hit the button if you want to help me hit 100K before my son graduates from college. Oh, and check out lessonswithmarcel.com. Sign up for private lessons with our team of amazing teachers, and maybe even get my Essential Fiddle Tune book. That's a good one. People like that one, I promise. Anyway, have a good one. I'll see y'all later.